Hi everyone. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jolyn. I'm a real estate agent with Schmidt Realty Group and also a seniors real estate specialist. So today we're going to talk about buying a condo, simply because I find for many people this is a little bit scary. This is a little bit overwhelming. This is a very different purchase than purchasing your home. And so there's just a little bit more complexity involved with buying a condo. And I find once people understand how condos work, what to look for, what the process looks like, then it's not as overwhelming. And so today we're going to go through a process of just making sure you understand all of the basic elements of buying a condo and what you should know. So I'm just going to take a moment here to share my screen. So just hang on because we'll get this started, and then you should be able to see my presentation here. There is a chat screen off to the side, so if anyone has any questions during the presentation, like I say, I have all your cameras off and all of you muted, just so that you're in listening mode. But type any questions into that group chat box on the side, and I'll do my best to address them either during the presentation or after the presentation. So let's get started and dive right in. So for those of you that aren't familiar with my background, as I mentioned, I am with Schmidt Realty Group. We're a boutique brokerage in Edmonton and area. But my background actually was a registered nurse with home care. I was a case manager. And then I shifted from there into seniors housing and worked with not-for-profit and for-profit seniors housing for years. And about 2 years ago, I started my own company, Edmonton 55, where I help older adults and their families navigate either aging in place to stay at home or needing to make a move and manage housing transitions. But what I found in that process is that many wouldn't make a decision about a housing choice, whether it was to stay or to move, without knowing their value of their current home and things like that. And I couldn't have those conversations without my real estate license. So I actually got my real estate license and now specialize in helping older adults, even though I work with all ages and stages. So for this presentation, we're definitely going to have a little bit of all age groups on it, and it really doesn't change what you're looking for. But that just gives you a little bit of a background into where I come from and where I might do real estate a little bit differently than some others. So today we're going to talk about condo as a form of ownership, unit factors, condo fees, reserve funds and special assessments, understanding condo document review process, and what the buyer process looks like. So in about 30 to 40 minutes, I'm going to give you a really quick overview as to what you need to know if you're considering looking at a condo purchase. So condos are not just apartment building style buildings, and that's where most people get confused. Condos can be any type of building. It can be an apartment style, which is a conventional condo. It can be a bare lands condo, which you'll often see with townhouses, duplexes, bungalows, and really any type of housing can be condo. What a condo refers to is the type of ownership. It is a community ownership of the condo. So condo living can have a lot of benefits, and why people choose a condo is very personal and specific to them and their circumstances. One, it's a great affordable way to still be owning property. We know that owning property is a great investment because even in times where the market goes down, it usually comes back up. And so it's something that it's easy to retain or gain value. So many people use it as sort of a retirement savings to purchase property, either for the future or for their primary residence. So those generally looking at something smaller than their home might choose a condo because it's still ownership versus renting. There is a sense of community that we just can't get in a home. And so with that, you've got friends and neighbors you can meet in the building. There may be social groups or activities, or maybe gatherings and meetings. but there's a lot of opportunities generally to meet the other owners versus living in your own standalone house. It's generally an easier lifestyle. A lot of condos have outside and snow removal and outside maintenance, and they take care of shingles and things like that. And you may have access to many amenities in the building. So I've seen condos that have great pools and fitness rooms and craft rooms and workshops with 20 pieces of equipment. There can be amazing amenities that you have access to all in a building. You don't have to put on a coat to go anywhere. You don't need a membership fee. It's usually included in your fees. So many choose the buildings based off of amenities. And like I say, it really comes down to that shared maintenance cost. If you're living in your own independent home and you need to replace the roof, that's all on you. If you're in a condo and the roof needs to be done, that's a shared expense amongst the condo owners. And as well, it might have already been thought about and planned for in the reserve fund, so there may not be any additional costs. So we're going to kind of go through a lot of that today. So the first thing you need to understand when looking at a condo is understanding unit factors, because this is the basis for a lot of decisions in a condo building. In the province of Alberta, every building is assigned 10,000 unit factors. So it doesn't matter whether it's a 5 bungalow condo or whether it's a 500 suite apartment building. Every condo corporation is assigned 10,000 unit factors. And then those unit factors are separated out based on how the condo board wants to manage that. So I have seen condos where every owner gets exactly the same amount of unit factors, regardless of the size of their suite or property. I have seen condos where it's based on the square footage of your property. I have seen condos assign unit factors for titled parking stalls. So sometimes it's location in the building. If you're the first, second, third, or fourth floor, there's many different ways that a condo board can decide to assign unit factors. So that's an important piece to look at, because this is going to shape not only your voting powers, but any future increases in condo fees are all based off of unit factors. So condo fees are generally your monthly fee paid to the condo board. This generally includes a reserve fund contribution, which we're going to talk about the reserve fund fairly shortly. Monthly operating costs of the condo board, so whether you have a property manager, your interior, exterior maintenance, what there is for bookkeeping software, accounting fees, all of those sorts of things. And then a contribution to the condo insurance cost. This is for the common area, the shared areas, the exterior and shared areas. So that might be hallways, that might be laundry rooms, that might be balconies. It really depends how the condo has declared its common areas. But those are the main things you see in a condo fee. Now, condo corporations can choose to add more things to those condo fees. So sometimes you're going to see utilities included because they can get a better deal with a group cable plan versus each owner getting their own cable. So sometimes utilities, so cable, heat, water, electric may be included. I've seen some that include internet, but that one's not very common. You may find that they've managed to include groups or activities or memberships into different amenities and services in the building. So it's really about, when you're looking at a condo, digging in as to what does your condo fee cover, so that you know exactly what's included, what's not included. But this is generally your monthly fee. And they change a lot. So I have seen condo fees as low as $100 a month. I have seen condo fees well over $1,000 a month. So there's quite a big variance, excuse me, in there as to what those condo fees may have. So we've kind of looked through what condo fees can include, but you also want to ask how frequently condo fees increase, so that you're aware any trends that might be part of that condo board It's not a guarantee there won't be other increases or out of that frequency, but it's a good question to ask. So reserve funds. This is basically a trust bank account that condo fees will go into from each condo owner each month. So generally this is a capital operating account in that this is where major repairs and maintenance are going to come out of. So through the province of Alberta, every condo corporation, regardless of its size, must do a 5-year reserve fund study. So every 5 years, they are calling in an engineer to evaluate the building and do a report as to the lifespan and anticipated needs of the building. So in a reserve fund study, we'll see if the roof needs to be done in the next 10 years, painting really needs to happen in the next 1 year, repaving of the underground parkade needs to happen in the next 8 years. Those are the sorts of things we see in a reserve fund study. And what it allows is for the condo board to plan and prepare. So now, if they know that their shingles on their roof need to be replaced in the next 3 years, how much money will that cost approximately? And what is in the reserve fund already? And what do they possibly need to increase condo fees to get more money into the reserve fund to address that need? So it's a great tool that allows condo boards to do planning. And so when you're looking to buy a condo, and you get the reserve fund studies, what you want to see in the meeting minutes and annual general meeting notes is that that condo board is reacting according to that reserve fund study. Are they making sure the money's in reserve? Are they adjusting condo fees? Are they adjusting spending patterns to make sure that savings is there? Because no one likes surprise costs that they have to contribute to at a later date. So it's a really responsive way for condo boards to be ahead of most maintenance issues. There's always things that come up unexpectedly, but generally it's a great way for you to see, is the condo board following the recommendations in the reserve fund study? Are they on track? Do they have the funds in reserve for these things? Now, where you often hear about special assessments is when a condo board does not have the full funds in the reserve fund to address a maintenance or significant cost. So these are generally one-time special assessments. They're an additional expense. They need to be approved by the condo board, and then they are usually distributed to all the condo owners based on your unit factors. So there might be an unexpected repair that isn't addressed for in the reserve fund. And so they need to institute a special assessment, and maybe that special assessment is $5 per unit factor. Well, if you have 120 unit factors assigned to you, $5 times 120 is the cost of your special assessment. And so that gives you an idea as to how those are sorted out. As a condo owner, it's important for you to understand there is special insurance you can purchase for yourself that will provide you some coverage for some special assessments. So generally unexpected, generally more to things like plumbing, electrical, larger things that must be replaced or repaired fairly quickly and efficiently, and thus usually have larger price tags assigned to them. So when you purchase a condo, be sure to speak to your insurance agent, not only about your content insurance, just like you do in an apartment. That's really all you have to worry about as a condo owner, but you may want to ask about additional coverage they have to protect condo owners in cases of some special assessments. So generally, a condo corporation has a couple requirements for meetings and usually ask all members attend. The annual general meeting is a must. This is a legislated must happen meeting, generally yearly, so usually within 120 days or something of that sort. It depends how the condo corporation has set it up. But this is where significant votes can happen about changing condo fees, special assessments, electing in board members to the condo management board, and such. In terms of general meeting of all members, those can happen on quite a varied timeline, and that really depends on the actual condo board and usually on the size of the board. I've seen smaller condos that just meet twice a year, an AGM and sort of a mid-year check-in if there's any other things they need to pass or do. And then I have a lot of condos that have a monthly meeting, and they may choose not to meet in the summer months, especially my 55 plus buildings where they're either gone or they might remove some meetings in the winter if a lot are snowbirds. So every building can choose what its regular meeting schedule looks like. I encourage all of my clients that buy a condo to participate in those board meetings. I know they can be boring. I know sometimes it feels like nothing is happening. It really depends on how active your board is. But the important thing to know is if there is votes on special assessments, if there is maintenance concerns, if there is changes to insurance, you're going to find out about it in those board meetings. So you can know a lot about the health of the condo business by attending those meetings. So the list that you see on your screen is actually the list I give to sellers, because generally a seller of a condo is responsible for providing a buyer with a long list of condo documents to review. So in a purchase, you have an opportunity to ask for conditions. Quite often we see financing conditions, we see building inspection conditions, and with a condominium, I always encourage a condition for reviewing condo documents. And so the provincial government has actually stipulated the mandatory requirements that a seller must provide to a buyer. There are some instances where a seller will refuse, and as a real estate agent, that's where I help you manage that conundrum and how we get around that. But these condo documents are things like the meeting minutes, so annual general meeting, any monthly meetings. You're going to see any property management contracts, any social space contracts. You're going to see financial statements. You're going to see budgets. You're going to see reserve fund studies. You're going to see reserve fund financials, a whole host of things. So agent can provide those electronically, or they can provide them printed out. So printed out, it's often a good 2 to 3 inch stack of papers. It is a lot of details to go through. And quite often you're only going to have 3 to possibly 7 business days to review those documents. So as a buyer, you have choices. You can review those documents on your own. And what you're looking for is any talk of special assessments, any talk of condo fees changing. Does reserve fund look like it can manage what's laid out in the reserve fund study? Does it look like the condo board has good management control of the building? The other choice that buyers can choose is to hire a condo document review company that you send all the documents to, and either they're going to give you a verbal statement of things to be aware of or to know, or they're going to give you a full written summary of what to expect, what's being followed, what's not being followed. Again, not to fully base all decisions off that, but it gives you a good idea of what's working or not working, or what you need to be mindful of moving into this condo. So I always encourage buyers to have that condition in your condo documents, in your purchase contract, to review condo documents, because it's great information to have, and you can choose not to purchase, you can choose to withdraw. Now, what I do ask in all of this from the seller's perspective is generally sellers have to pay for these condo documents, or at least some of them, like their information statement, the estoppel certificate, a number of things like that. So do not make a purchase contract offer on a condo unless you are intent on buying it, because the seller is oftentimes putting out considerable fees to access all of these documents for you. There's some they get for free. but there is some that they have to pay the condo management board or board of directors to put together. And so just be aware of that. And likewise, when you go to sell your condo, you will be expected to pay for these condo documents if provincial legislation hasn't changed. So just something to keep in mind down the road, and why I always suggest you keep every piece of paper you get from the condo board for your future sale. So, typical buying process. You can most certainly contact a listing realtor, and that's the person that has that condo for sale. Or you can contact an independent realtor to help you search and buy your next condo. I never suggest calling the listing realtor, and I am shocked because I frequently have a lot of properties for sale. I'm shocked at the number of people that don't have their own agent that they're working with. Because when I'm a listing realtor, my duty and responsibility is to the seller. So if you're providing me information, I'm going to use that with my seller if you ever enter into negotiations with us. When I take somebody in as an independent realtor for their buying decision, we're keeping everything tight-lipped and not sharing with that selling realtor. I just talk to them. They don't know you. They don't know your circumstances. They don't know your motivations. But you've got somebody on your side looking for condos that fit your needs and also looking out for your best interest. So as an independent realtor for a buyer, I set up exclusive search criteria with a unique website for you so that all condos get funneled there that fit your criteria. We plan showings, not just one at a time. Let's do 4, 5, 6, whatever you can handle, but let's do them all together so that it's easier to compare and know a little bit more quickly what you're liking and disliking. And then as an independent realtor, we help you work through the offer, work through the conditions, and make sure you're making a sound purchase for you. So you can choose whichever process works best for you. But when you work with a real estate agent, we have a fiduciary and duty and a loyalty to you and your best interests. We have a lot of neighborhood knowledge, and it's sometimes pointing out the little things, as to what was truthful in the marketing, what you need to be aware of that wasn't stated in the marketing, what you need to know about this road is particularly busy at school times, or that parking is really hard to get in this neighborhood, or changing bus transit and things like that. But we're also going to have a lot of strategy and negotiation to support you through purchasing that condo. And you really have guidance every step of the way. So this is what a typical sales process looks like for a condo. So a seller will list it and it gets active on MLS, which is the computer system that realtors use. And then some realtors choose to put those listings on realtor.ca. So not every listing out there is on realtor.ca. They get some showings. They receive a purchase contract, also known as an offer. There's some negotiation on price, conditions, and terms. And then they come to an agreement. Conditions get removed, and that's when the condo is officially sold. And then there's possession day. So from submitting an offer to getting it sold, or purchased in your case, is really just a 5 to 10 business days. This little bit happens really, really quickly. And so as a buyer, it's great to sort of know what this process looks like, because what I'm going to do is sort of go what I do with a buyer. So you can see above possession day that we want to move by September. So this is what I do with a buyer. We actually work backwards on this timeline. So on possession day is when your full payment is due on the condo. But we're going to work backwards. So I have a buyer, they want to move by September, which means we need to have conditions removed by mid-July if it's a 60-day possession period, which means we needed to accept an offer in mid-June, which means we needed to make an offer by early June. And so as a buyer, we really start our search depending on when you need to move by and how much time we think it's going to be to find the right condo for you. So when you accept an offer, um, and it's come to full agreement, there's usually a deposit you pay, usually in the range of $5,000 to $10,000, and then your full financing payments are usually due around your possession date. So we use this timeline to figure out how much time we have to search, because in this case, for a September move, and we're already in April, we've got April, May, and by early June, we need to have found the place to make an offer. So it just gives you a rough timeline. Everybody's timeline is completely different, but this is sort of the exercise I go through with my clients to figure that timeline out. As a buyer, you need to understand what your costs to the transaction are. Generally, you're not paying for a real estate agent because those are generally seller fees that they manage. So you'll have a deposit, and if you're doing any financing, either a down payment or you're financing full payments. You may choose to pay for a building inspection. That's often in the range of $500. I have clients that do it on a condo. I have clients that don't do it on a condo because really all the mechanicals and big pieces are managed by the condo corporation. But it is really nice to get another set of eyes on your condo property to review it to see if there's anything else that you need to be aware of. If you have any financing involved, you may have an appraisal that the banks ask you to pay for because that's just how they do things. So that's often in the $500 to $700 range. And then your legal costs for transferring title, moving everything into your name, often in the range of $1,500, possibly up to $2,500 if it's a little bit more complex. And then if the seller refuses to provide condo documents, you may need to pay that. And then usually your lawyer will work to get those costs back from the seller, but you may need to be prepared to have those costs up front. That can be anywhere from $300 to $1,500, and I've seen some even higher than that. So I mean it when I say sellers may have to contribute significantly to get those documents. So just something to keep in your back pocket and be aware of when it comes to costs. As you find a condo, as you purchase a condo, and as you prepare to move, because I work with a lot of adults over 50, I want people to know that you are not alone in doing a move. If you do not have family or support to assist you, there are senior move managers that help you declutter, that help you pack, that help you unpack. There's professional organizers you can hire that help you mostly with the decluttering and the organizing, because it can be really hard coming from a large single family home to a smaller condo, and what do you take and what do you leave. And then there is a lot of storage and packing solutions, whether it's storage lockers, pods, little shipping containers that can come to your home. So there's a variety of service options out there. And as your realtor, I always make sure you know of options that can support you for anything that you need some additional help with. So things to keep in mind as you think about buying a condo is that, are you paying too much? Do you understand fair market value? Because anybody can list anything for any price they want. So we want to make sure that your purchase is fair market value. And so for any of my buyers, I go through an extensive exercise to make sure that the fees that they're paying, their purchase price makes sense for the building, the neighborhood, the condition of the suite, and everything else. Do you know all the facts about the condo business you are investing in? Because you are not just buying a piece of property. You are buying into a business partnership, a business organization that manages a building. And so that's where we really need to look at purchasing a condo a little bit different than just purchasing a standalone house. Is we really want to know and dig into the health of that condo corporation. There are some excellently managed buildings in the city. There are some buildings that, I feel sorry when I see something sold, because I know that buyer probably doesn't know exactly what they're getting into with that building. because ultimately at the end of the day, someday you need to be able to sell this, and you want it to be in a well-managed building. And do you understand the future area for development? I see so many people that choose a condo property because they love the building, they love the location, they love the property, but forget to look outside of that. To look at our other buildings going up. Is the field behind you always going to stay a field? Can that be turned into a high rise? Can, great shopping and amenity disappear? So as a realtor, I help you navigate all surrounding your purchase property, what else is happening and going on, so that you can have all the information you need when buying that condo. So I love this quote: real estate cannot be lost or stolen, nor can it be carried away. Purchased with common sense, paid for in full, and managed with reasonable care, it is about the safest investment in the world. And that has always been the case with real estate. And even with our up and down market, it's still the case. We still generally see some improvements in our investments with a condo. So the other question I get asked by many people is, I'm not looking to move to a condo, but I want to purchase a condo as an investment property. So this slide was made in March. This is the Edmonton apartment condo markets for the last, it's about 15 years or so that we're going back. And other than the crash in 2008, which was quite dramatic, but really was a much needed course correction, as you can see, condo prices are near some of the lowest in 15 years. And so we know this is the time to buy a condo because we know we're towards the bottom of the condo market prices in Edmonton. We're already seeing single family homes start to increase in value. And so we know our condo market is just shortly behind our housing market. And so for those that are content in their home and fine, what some people do is purchase a condo as a future living option and rent it for now. So there is some things you want to take into consideration with that, making sure your condo building does allow renters so that you can get that income, making sure that for the area you can ask a rental rate that is going to help cover any of your financing costs, your condo fees, things of that nature. But this is a great time to be looking at a condo as an investment. And many of my clients in their 40s, 50s, and 60s choose to purchase condos in 55 plus buildings or other adult buildings that they rent for now and will have access to move into on their own. So they purchase with what they would like in mind. But then they have it ready when they need it, whether they need more accessibility or just lose their license and can't drive in the community, whatever that might look like. So condos can definitely be a great investment option. So generally, for those that are thinking they want to get started with a condo but not sure where to get started, it's easy to get started with me. So we're going to have a conversation about what you're looking for, and we're going to set up a website with your unique search criteria, so you will get updates on price changes, open houses, everything that happens and changes for you. Together, we're going to work to figure out your unique timeline. We're going to develop a best plan for searching and figuring out your best condo. And then we're going to fully research options before we even get to the stage of making an offer. So really at the end of the day, what may feel like a scary purchase, you're going to be able to purchase with confidence. So this just goes through some of my benefits. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on here, but I do have a free home buyer guide. I do explore any financing options you need. I have an easy exit agreement that you can cancel at any time with me. I have a buy worry free guarantee that if you're not happy with your purchase in 12 months, I'll sell it, reducing some of my service fees, because my first prerogative is that you're getting into a place you will love and enjoy. So a lot more benefits there. And then I do have 2 guides that I can mail out to you. I have a right sizing guide and a condo buying guide. And so they're really just 4-page get started, quick and easy fixes. So you can just send me an email, give me a phone call. I'll get your email and mailing address, and I'll get those out to you quickly. And so that's all of my contact information there. You can most certainly contact me by phone, text, email, whichever works best for you. I do talk to clients evenings, weekends, whatever schedule you're on, we can find a time to work together. And as I mentioned, I do work with all ages and stages, but my specialty is working with older adults just because of my background with being a nurse and working in seniors housing as well. So I'm just going to switch back here and get back to my chat window. And if anyone has any questions, you can most certainly type into that chat window here, and I will answer any questions you may have.